Hello, parents, educators, and students. You hear from us at smartsocial.com all the time about how to shine online. And some people will call that a brand. We like to call it your personality. How can we be full of positivity and gratitude to make sure you're putting your best foot forward, not in a way that's ever fake or in a way that maybe you're making things up, but rather, how can we put your authentic personality online so that you can be full of positivity and gratitude? I'm Josh Oakes, the author of Light, Bright, and Polite. And as you may know, I got my start at Walt Disney Studios many years ago as they built some of the world's best brands and let me ride along the way to see how they market to families taking a long story and turning it into just one image. And now I do that all over the country with students. Today we have an expert, we have an absolute professor who's going to walk us through one of their programs. And I want to tell you ahead of time, you don't have to be in an advanced level amazing program that they have to gain a couple tips for your own online brand. Today, we're talking about good deeds and how to do them online. And I'm going to show you that no matter what you're doing in person, you can also turn that into something that you put on your portfolio, your website, or anything else that you have. Maybe it's just Instagram or something else. Today, I want to welcome Andrew Selepak. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Andrew, tell us what you do professionally, and then let's dive on in. We got a bunch of questions.
Sure. So I'm Andrew Selepak. I am a social media professor at the University of Florida. I also teach other classes on media writing, sports entertainment, and in addition, I'm the program coordinator for an online master's program in mass communications that has a specialization in social media. So this is a topic very near and dear to me.
Yeah, it's exciting. So you have a program that helps people to put their good deeds online.
Teach an undergraduate course where in the course we talk about the good and the bad of social media. And, if we're being honest, there's a lot of bad these days, which is why I think it's important in the class. I have a class project that students work on all semester where they try to do good, to see that social media is a tool and social media can be used positively, even though it's often used negatively, but it's really up to the user how they use it and what they do with it. And one of the goals for the class is to get the students to use it in a positive way and to try to make a difference in the world.
Can you give us an example of maybe one of the students, what they've done?
Yeah, so the students get divided into groups because one of the things that I think is important for students to understand is that when you're trying to make a difference, when you're trying to create good on a small local level, it's a lot of work. Students, I think, are now so accustomed to having social media, they hop onto their social media accounts and they already have hundreds, if not thousands of followers. But to really create something from the ground up does take work, it does take effort. So they're divided into groups, they pick a cause that they're interested in, and then find a local organization that they can work with to help support that cause. Yeah. Whether it's to raise money for them or donations.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's why people are here today, is to learn about doing good deeds on social media. Students are instructed by their teachers, go figure out a way to do good deeds. And also parents are saying, what good can you do? So students are doing this research, landing on this page. Now, students, I want you to know you do not need to be in college to do great things and to put it online. And one of the things we at smartsocial.com believe in is making sure you're using your Instagram in a way to brand yourself in a positive way so you can show off all your projects, your passion, your public service, and everything else. Andrew, can you give us an example of somebody who's maybe helped a local organization, or is there one in particular or one that stands out that most students are doing?
So a lot of the students naturally love animals. So a lot of times I have groups that they want to do something for animals, whether it's strays or shelters, and they will work with one of the animal shelters that's here in North Central Florida and raise money for them. Either it's to help provide food or it's to provide some of the toys that animals in these shelters have, while in addition promoting the idea of pet adoption, going out and adopting a pet for someone here in the local community. And they're not focusing on students, they're focusing on the local community, the people that live here. The students, they go to college, they often are coming from somewhere else. They don't have the sort of long-term roots in a community, but there is a community in every college town, whether it's in a city or a small town. And what they're doing is really trying to help that local community and make a difference. Will happen and have an impact right there.
What would be one tip that you'd give to students based on what you've seen your college level students, what would you give tips in high school students on how to get started? What can they do to not get overwhelmed, but take some good deeds or maybe help an organization?
I think the hard part for a lot of younger people is, of all the social media platforms, the one that they use the least is Facebook. And for all the problems that exist on Facebook, and that's a whole separate conversation that we can have hours of, Facebook does make it easy to have a Facebook fundraiser and makes it easy for you to raise money for a cause, for a charity. And that's something that anybody can do on an individual level. Facebook encourages people to do it for their birthdays, to promote a cause, to raise an amount of money for their birthday. And that's really one of the positives I see of the platform. I'm very much somebody who believes there is a utopian potential of social media, that it doesn't have to be this bad place. And I think once you think of it in that sort of mindset, you start to look for the things that are available. And again, I know younger people might look at Facebook as being one of their primary platforms, but it's really easy to raise money through a Facebook fundraiser for different causes and organizations. And it can be a great way for a young person to feel like they're making a difference, whether it's for a cause that they really believe in, or maybe just something on a local level.
Yeah. And so for students listening or parents, you can do this on Instagram also. We know that Facebook and Instagram are owned by Meta. On Instagram, you can click the plus button, and instead of posting or creating a story, you can actually create a fundraiser or start a fundraiser or promote a fundraiser. Students, we know you're on Insta, TikTok, Snapchat. Your parents are on Facebook. We get it. They're old, and I'm joking, but at the same time, this is available everywhere. So that's a really good tip. Go and put that either in your bio or somewhere else.
The only reason why I mentioned Facebook more is because we also have to understand that for young people, they don't necessarily have as much disposable income. So if you're trying to raise money, Instagram's great because it's easier to build an audience. But if everybody else that you're dealing with on Instagram is also your age, they might not have that much money to contribute. But on Facebook, like you said, because mom, dad, grandparents, aunts, and uncles are on there, they conceivably have more disposable income. So creating it on Facebook does reach out to that audience that is more likely to have the cash on hand to donate. Like you're saying, it's great to use Instagram, and it's another kind of vehicle to use social media for a positive thing. But I could go where the audience is. That's one of the things I talk to my students about. They often like to target other students, and I tell them students generally, college students in particular, generally aren't the ones that have a lot of extra cash to be donating, but it's maybe the people who are a little bit older, who've had a career for a while. And that's one of those things where, again, you're right, you can use the Instagram. I push a little bit more the Facebook just to go where the audience is that has that money to donate.
Yeah, I love where you're going with that. I'm going to suggest to students that if you're on Instagram, stay there, because a big part of what we're teaching students in high school, middle school, and everywhere else, it is neat to promote. Awareness is just as important sometimes as fundraising. In what we're teaching students, it's great if you're pushing something, but also sharing your personality of what you're really into. It could be helping to spread awareness on why in California 20 or 30 years ago, they said, make sure you spay and neuter your dogs and your cats and everything, and make sure that we have a really great animal control and everything else about that. And it was less about fundraising and more about spreading that awareness. Let's jump in really quickly, Andrew, and talk about how many employers and or colleges are you seeing Google candidates these days? I know we've talked a couple of years ago about what students have on their social media, and that's really the hidden layer of what we're getting at here is you're doing great things in real life. You're putting the things on social media that you're doing in real life, but how do we tell that narrative in a way that spreads awareness, but also shows our personality in a positive way? What are you seeing with employers and how they're looking at people online?
I think that's really important, because at the end of the day, employers, colleges, they're looking at the social media accounts. They're looking to see the things that students have posted, that potential job applicants have posted. And then even when you get the job, they're continuing to monitor and look at your social media. So it's 100% one of those things that somebody's really got to keep in mind, presenting themselves in a way that people want to associate themselves with, whether it's for a school or for a job or an internship. I think a lot of times we we see people who post things and they're being negative or they're attacking others, they're clout chasing, and it gets them a lot of attention. And at the end of the day, what students and young people need to understand is while social media attention is great and having a lot of followers and having a tweet that goes viral or a post that goes viral is awesome, it's not something that you can then go to the bank and get money back for. That's not something that you can exchange into cash. Instead, it's having that reputation, it's having that sort of personal brand that people want to associate with that helps you get that job, that helps you get into school, that helps you get into maybe after college, law school or business school or med school. And those are the things that are really important because, again, schools, employers, and once you get the job, current employers are looking back through your social media and seeing what you've posted and seeing what type of person you are.
Absolutely. So important. Students, practical and tactical, rather than scaring you, go Google yourself today. Make sure you're Googling your first and last name, see what comes up. If you're like, I don't come up at all these other people who do come up can confuse and also maybe lead employers, colleges down a different direction, down a rabbit hole, as we say. And they will think that's you until proven otherwise. And they might take your application or your resume and put it in another stack. This is a confusing one. Let's put it in the maybe stack. But there's a definite other people that were putting in the yes, let's interview stack. They sometimes don't have time to come back to the maybe stack. We're all so busy. So often I interview a ton of people. I hire people. I want to make sure that like we put your best foot forward as possible. And the way to do that is just to start by Googling yourself. Andrew, I'm going to leave you with final word. What would you give students in high school as an example of some things that they can do to maybe just simple steps to clean up their online presence?
Well, I think you mentioned something really good about having that Google search result. And you and I are probably a little bit more on the lucky side in terms of doing that. No, we don't have necessarily the most common names. So doing a Google search on us, especially now, but even before, most likely it was going to come up with us. But if you do have that more common name, it makes it that much more important to create that presence on social media and to look for multiple places where you can do that, whether it's a LinkedIn account, a website, a YouTube page, an Instagram account, and then making sure that there's a consistency across those of using the same name, using the same profile picture, trying to use the same account name. Hopefully that's available, and building this online presence where you get to represent yourself, you get to present yourself, where you have complete control over what that image is. You want to present yourself as somebody who's really interested in a particular area or topic or field. You can do that. And that's really up to the individual. And it sounds like a daunting task. It sounds like this thing that's going to take forever to do. But really, if someone just sits down, spends some time putting it all together, especially because we know young people know how to use all these platforms, it makes it that much of a better thing. And then once it's time to look for that summer job, to apply for school, that website, that LinkedIn account is something that you can put that URL on that piece of paper resume, and people can go and see you beyond just what's on a piece of paper. They can go see that personality. They can go see the things that you are and what makes you stand out from others. It's that opportunity that I think is so fantastic for young people these days that just a few years ago wasn't a possibility.
Absolutely. So teens, you heard it here. Go consider adding a LinkedIn, work on bolstering up that Instagram if you have it. Also go to Google. And if you haven't yet, you can go to Google Sites for free, sites.google.com, and create a little portfolio. We at Smart Social have the Student Branding Academy where we teach you how to build and get your portfolio to the top of Google. That's right. We can get, in some cases, to the first link. And we do that through all these little tiny technological techniques that we have so that you can learn how to shine online with every single account that you have that's in a good realm to put your personality online. I hope you'll learn more about the Student Branding Academy. It's at smartsocial.com. You can click to learn more and unlock some of that information. Thank you so much, Andrew, for your time today. We really appreciate all your tips.
Thank you.
Thanks to the rest of you for listening and watching here today. Please rate, subscribe, and review so we can help parents and students just like you. We'll see you all on the next episode. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks.